It's news time on the marathon. The teams from STB's Vikna and STB's Facts are working for you. In the Pokrovsk direction, SBU Special Forces have eliminated over 1,500 occupiers in just the past month. Every day they destroy more than 24 pieces of enemy equipment. After the situation escalated in Pokrovsk and its outskirts, the number of Alpha Special Operations Center fighters in this area increased significantly. They are carrying out extremely complex missions, according to the SBU. 39 artillery systems used by the Russians to shell Pokrovsk have been destroyed. The Russian army has lost 18 air defense systems, creating corridors for our successful drone attacks. Their units are also involved in special operations behind the front line. As a result, 3 large fuel and ammunition depots were blown up. Agur carried out a sweep of the gray zone on the territory of the former Kakhovka Reservoir. Intelligence has released details of the operation. The area where the reservoir used to be before the Russians blew up the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant is now under our control. The sweep was conducted by fighters from the Bratstvo unit. 7 kilometers from the shoreline near the Veliki Kuchuhuri Islands, special forces of the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine discovered and eliminated 2 Russian occupiers and raised the blue and yellow flag there. More than 100 combat engagements have already taken place on the front since the beginning of the day, according to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The Pokrovsk direction remains the most difficult. Almost a third of all attacks on the front line occurred there. In the Sloviansk direction, the defense forces repelled 12 enemy assaults. On the Kostiantynivka section of the front, our soldiers stopped 7 enemy offensive actions. There were 9 enemy attacks today in the Oleksandrivka area. It's also hot in the Lyman area. There, the occupiers attacked our defense forces positions 6 times. Drones attacked again last night in Russia. In particular, they hit a petrochemical plant that produces aviation fuel in the Republic of Bashkortostan. This was confirmed by the head of the city administration of Stolitomak, where the plant is located. According to him, there were 2 drones. They were shot down and the debris fell on the plant's territory. Public channels reported explosions in the city of Kstovo, Nizhny Novgorod region of the Russian Federation. According to the data, OSINT analysts report that fires broke out in the area of an oil refinery owned by Lukoil, as well as at the Sibuk-Stovo petrochemical plant, which produces ethylene, propylene, benzene, and also components for explosives. And the State Border Guard Service shared footage of fighters from the Chimera Unmanned Systems Unit destroying Russian checkpoints and strongholds in the Bryansk region on the border with Ukraine. Thanks to the work of the unit, the enemy cannot feel safe. Border guards emphasize that the enemy is not safe even on their own territory. Donetsk region has been under enemy shelling since morning. The Russians attacked Kramatorsk with strike drones, targeting the private sector. There were no casualties, according to the city military administration. Meanwhile, the day before, 2 people were killed and 2 more were injured in the region. The occupiers struck with aviation and artillery. At the same time, they attacked frontline cities with kamikaze drones. Currently, Dobropilya, Siversk, and Kostiantynivka are suffering the most. Reaching these settlements is now extremely difficult due to the overwhelming presence of drones. But despite the danger, police officers and volunteers continue to evacuate people, risking their own lives.
Passing by a burned-out car, the White Angels crew speeds into Kostiantynivka at full throttle. But as soon as the police officers get out of the car, enemy drones start raining down on them. Got it? Me! I'm first. I shot it down. Now this is the only way to move around the city. With a pump-action shotgun, constantly taking cover, sometimes under buildings, sometimes under trees. With each passing day, the enemy is turning the neighborhoods of Kostiantynivka into complete ruins. Guided aerial bombs are destroying everything around. There, passing by houses reduced to rubble, the police and volunteers reach their first address. An elderly couple is waiting for them here. The husband and wife had postponed their evacuation until the very last moment, but their patience finally ran out. And what's in the bag? A lot? No, just 2. Agree, it's time. On this trip, the White Angels are also evacuating a bedridden 92-year-old man whose legs were injured by a Russian shelling.
I was wounded so badly that it really hit me directly, right in the right side.
But in just a few days, the White Angels will return here again. This woman asked for a little more time to gather her things.
Just a day or 2 there.
On Saturday?
On Saturday. I don't know, I'll be here, and then we'll go to Grandma's.
How many people are with you?
2.
Are they able to walk?
She's not good. She uses 2 canes.
Not able to walk, right? Yes.
With-
With every passing hour, the situation in what was once a city of thousands is getting worse. The Russians are pressing on Kostiantynivka from 3 sides at once. The main road is under constant attack. Civilians are killed here by Russian strikes almost every day. And although most of the population has already left Kostiantynivka, up to 5,000 civilians still remain in the city. With each attempt, it becomes harder and harder for volunteers and police to carry out evacuations. But they still risk their own lives to save others. Oleg Kornienko, FAK STV, United News.
The heating season started as planned, and now the task is to get through the whole winter with warmth. This was emphasized by Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko at a meeting of the Anti-Crisis Energy Headquarters, with the participation of relevant ministries and energy companies. Among the key topics were also the increase of energy resource imports and the expansion of energy production, of distributed generation. It is this type of generation that allows communities to maintain energy resilience even during massive attacks. The state pays special attention to frontline regions where Russia systematically shells energy facilities. According to the Prime Minister, more than 8,000 points of invincibility are already operating steadily, and another 4,000 are ready to be deployed in case of power outages. All of them are supplied with fuel and communication equipment. As part of the winter support program, the government has maintained fixed prices for gas and electricity for household consumers so that Ukrainians can get through the winter without additional financial pressure, promises Yulia Sviridenko. Today is Railway Workers' Day, and both Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko and President Volodymyr Zelensky congratulated the employees of Ukrzaliznytsia. They emphasized that since the start of the full-scale war, Ukrainian railways has become a symbol of resilience, reliability and national unity. Every day the railway is under Russian attacks. The enemy strikes at passenger trains and infrastructure, but railway workers restore the damage within hours to ensure passengers arrive on time and cargo is delivered. 948 railway workers have lost their lives because of the war. More than 750 were killed at the front as part of the armed forces. The president awarded railway workers and also inspected the new open-plan carriage and the first barrier-free carriage, which is fully equipped for people with disabilities. Ukrainian Railways is recovering after heavy strikes, maintaining key routes, ensuring the transportation of people, our citizens, and providing cargo transport. Since the very beginning of this year alone, Ukrzaliznytsia has already transported more than 135 million tons of cargo, as well as over 90 million passengers. 80% of Ukrainian passenger trains consistently arrive on time, precisely and reliably according to the official schedule, even when circumstances are extraordinary, such as during enemy shelling. This year, the Defense Procurement Agency received $12 billion in funding to purchase what is necessary for the Ukrainian army. 80% of this amount has already been spent on concluding contracts. Overall, the Ministry of Defense reports that procurement of what is needed for the winter for the army has been completed. This year, additional financial resources were sought in order to purchase more long-range munitions and fuel and lubricants. The armed forces of Ukraine should have enough fuel to last until the end of the year and even into the first quarter of 2026. Currently, the process has begun in organizations responsible for feeding the military. For the first time, purchases will be made in such a way as to ensure uninterrupted food supply to the units for an extended period. 37 billion hryvnias will be spent on food for the army. We are currently considering the possibility of providing food services not just for the first half of the year, as was done in the year 2025, but instead we are looking into procuring catering services that would cover the entire year. This would allow for more controlled and consistent management of food provision, ensuring that meals are available throughout all 12 months rather than only during the initial 6 months. By making this change, we aim to streamline the process and improve the reliability of our food service operations for everyone involved. The procedure for supplying food to the armed forces. The Ministry of Defense has additionally allocated almost 2 billion hryvnias for drones. With this amount, the military will be able to order unmanned systems through the Datchain Defense Marketplace for the defense forces. In the first 3 months of this unique platforms operation, brigades received 150,000 drones worth a total of $200 million. This is convenient, as the military can make purchases directly by simply placing an order. An additional 50 brigades have gained access to this system, bringing the total to 180. The entire bureaucratic process is handled by the Defense Procurement Agency, and the delivery time has been reduced from several months to just a few weeks.
In addition, thanks to a recent government decision, we are launching a pilot program for the brigades of the National Guard of Ukraine with a budget of 300 million hryvnias. We plan that next year, or within the next 6 months, approximately 70% of all drone deliveries will be successfully carried out through Dokain Defense.
One of the most influential American politicians of our time, former Vice President of the United States, Dick Cheney, has passed away. He died at the age of 84 from complications of pneumonia and cardiovascular disease. Dick Cheney became a symbol of hardline American politics. He headed the Pentagon during the presidency of George H.W. Bush and served as vice president in George W. Bush's administration for both of his terms. Dick Cheney is often called the architect of the war on terror. It was he who, after September 11, 2001, authorized the shooting down of hijacked planes if they were heading toward the White House or the Capitol. He effectively initiated the fight against terrorism from Al-Qaeda, which led to the war in Afghanistan, the invasion of Iraq, and the targeting of its leader Saddam Hussein. Cheney also advocated for detaining terrorism suspects without trial at the Guantanamo base in Cuba, for which he was repeatedly criticized both in the U.S. and abroad. The politician himself believed until the end of his life that he was acting in the interests of his country's security. For Ukraine, it was Dick Cheney who played a key role in the U.S. National Security Council's decision to recognize our country's independence, and during his visit to Kyiv in 2008, he called on Ukrainians to unite and promised Washington's support on the path toward Euro-Atlantic integration. In recent years, the Republican conservative has distanced himself from his party due to his sharp criticism of Donald Trump, calling him a coward and a threat to the country. And in last year's presidential election, Cheney supported the Democrat Kamala Harris. Legendary English footballer David Beckham has finally been knighted for his contributions to sports and charity. He is a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador. King Charles III personally presented the honorary award. The knighthood ceremony took place at Windsor Castle. Beckham was accompanied by his wife and parents. Speaking to journalists, the athlete became emotional and admitted that he cried when he heard the news. As a child, he dreamed of becoming a professional footballer, and now he is proud of receiving such an honorary distinction. He joked that he wouldn't mind if his children now called him Sir Beckham.